everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Connection Corner. I am Barb Nangle, and I'm the community manager of Known Coworking. I'm really excited today to talk to Latrice Allen, who is from the New Haven Financial Empowerment Center. She's going to tell you all about what they do and the services that they offer. It's all about empowering people financially in the New Haven community. Before I introduce her, though, I want to say a few words about Known. It's a dynamic co-working community to connect people across their fields of expertise, endeavors, and experiences. And though we started as a co-working place in downtown New Haven and are still the only co-working space in downtown New Haven, we've moved our community to the virtual world once the pandemic hit, and we're staying. And we actually have 3 programs right now. So we have this show, The Connection Corner, we have Pivot Talk, and we have Digital Media Sync. In addition, the actual physical co-working space downtown has hourly, daily, and monthly plans for dedicated desks and offices, as well as conference rooms, Zoom rooms available for rent. And if you want to know more about that, feel free to send me an email. I can be reached at barb@knowncoworking.com. You can also check out our website, which is nhvknown.com, or you can follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Known Coworking and DM us there. I mentioned that we have these 3 different programs. You can catch replays for free of all of them on our website. So again, it's nhvknown.com. And you can go to event Known Live. You'll see a window for Known Live. So we have Digital Media Sync every Tuesday at 8:30 in the morning. It's hosted by Julia Gambale. She is the social media maven of Agents of Branding. Then we have this show, and this show is for dreamers, thinkers, entrepreneurs, educators, social justice workers, anybody in our community who wants to share with the world who they are, what they do, who they serve, how, and why. And then we also have Pivot Talk, which is a stage for businesses to share how they learn and grow. And we share those shows every Tuesday with Digital Media Sync at 8:30. This show and Pivot Talk are at very different times each week. Pivot Talk is more monthly. The show is often weekly. And again, you can catch the replays on our website. And our purpose in the physical and in the digital world is to make connections between people. We're here to help you get connected, inspired, and known. And speaking of getting known, every Monday from 4 to 5 p.m., I host virtual networking. You can get to virtual networking by going to our website and clicking on the link. So if you go to nhvknown.com, you click on events, and if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you'll see a graphic for virtual networking. You just click right on that. You can come in anytime. You don't have to stay the whole hour. You can come every week if you want, or every once in a while if you want. It's a great way to get connected to other people. I like to think of myself as a connector. I am quite the connector, and I don't think there's anybody who's ever come to virtual networking that I haven't connected with at least one person. So please join us there and send other people as well. Without further ado, I'm going to bring on Latrice. Welcome, Latrice. Thank you so
Hi,
much
Barb.
for joining us. Hi, I'm
How
so
are
glad you're
you?
here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, me too. So just really quickly before you go into introducing yourself, I want to say how we met and how you came to be on the show. So Latrice and we first didn't meet in person. I saw her on the replay of a webinar. We're both members of the Collaboration of Minority Women Professionals, a phenomenal networking group you should join. And in the fall, the collaboration did a panel on financing for your business. And Latrice was one of the women on the panel. So that's where I first remember her from. Well, then she became an instructor for Knownpreneurs.
Yes.
Which is the BIPOC business support and mentoring program that we have. It's actually called Knownpreneurs Growth Lab. And she's one of the instructors. So I reached out to all of the instructors to see if they wanted to come on to the Connection Corner. And it turned out that rather than talking about like her own personal gig, we were talking about what she does full time. And she said, oh my God, this would be a fantastic platform to talk about what we're doing because part of our charge is to get the word out there. So I'm done. take it away. Tell us, what is this New Haven Financial Empowerment Center? What do you do? Who do you serve, and all that stuff?
So I'm so excited. So the New Haven
goody.
Financial Empowerment Center is here to, as part of a cohort of financial empowerment centers across the United States. So we are one of 9, and we are part of a bigger organization that provides financial literacy, financial education to individuals one-on-one, to assist with providing more financial stability to families. The way that we do that is we are an agency where you can come, we can talk about finances, we look at credit, we look at debt, and we also look at how you're banked. So there is an initiative, a collaboration in Connecticut called Bank On, and that collaboration works with banks to ensure people have safe banking accounts, because people who have bank accounts are more likely to save money. And so what we help people do is look at what what expenses they have. It's an open, free conversation that you can talk about your finances. What we found is that many people growing up, they may not know how to, they haven't learned any skills, and we learn by fire in finances. So all of our counselors go through an extensive counseling certification process. This is free to New Haven residents, and we want to provide this financial counseling to all residents of New Haven. We have a push, we have a lot of connections with communities that may be under income, but we really want to reach families that work every day and are just trying to make ends meet every month. That's who we're reaching out to. The awesome part about our program is there's no income limit. So you can make 10,000 a year, you can make 5,000 a year, or you can be on the other side and you can be making 100,000 a year. We will look at your credit, look at your debt, we'll look at savings and how you can become more financially stable. Mm-hmm. And the way we do that is through counseling. It's one-on-one, it is private. And what I found, Barb, is that a lot of companies charge a lot of money for this, and we provide it for free.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So I'm going to get a little bit personal here and tell people that in 1999, when my student loans came due, I ended up declaring bankruptcy because I couldn't handle the student loans on top of all the credit card debt I had racked up. And it was the second time I had racked up credit card debt. And what you know about me that not everybody watching the show is like I'm in a couple of 12-step recovery programs, one of which has very much to do with being a codependent person, and many of all of my financial problems had to do with my like people pleasing kind of behaviors. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to turn my finances around on my own through brute force and lots and lots and lots of education. I did go to a consumer credit counseling service who they were like, the first guy was like, why? I've never seen anybody your age with that much debt. And I was like, Jesus, why don't you shame me? And then I ended up talking to somebody else in that agency. And she said, why are you not declaring bankruptcy? And I was like, well, I incurred this debt. I should pay it. And she's like, well, you can pay it back someday if you want to, but you should declare bankruptcy right now. Right. And I really, I totally understand and sympathize with people, especially if you're working hard every day. I was not taught how to handle my money by anybody. We do a horrible job in this society, and people have so much shame about their finances. And it's like, if nobody taught you how to cook, would you be shamed that you messed up your whole kitchen and burned your food every night? No, you'd be like, I feel like I need to go get some help learning how to cook. Before you say anything, I do want to say, like we had that comment from Vanessa asking how to get a hold of you for the one-on-one counseling. And so I did put up the banner. We have both the phone number. You can call the office, but Latrice, you said it's actually better if they can email you. So yes. Okay,
Send me
okay,
send me
we're
an
gonna
email. I'm sorry, Bart.
wonderful. And then we have another comment. Rick says, oh, wait a minute. Sounds like a great thing for the entire community. Absolutely, because the entire community is going to benefit when people are empowered. So,
Right. When
okay.
people, like this is all part of social equity,
Hmm.
building up neighborhoods. Our
Hmm.
offices are actually located. Our office is located on Dixwell Avenue. It
Nice.
was an initiative started by Mayor Harp, um, and she wanted us to be in the community. So
Right.
right now we're located on Dixwell Avenue. That may have to change, but
Hmm.
we are definitely an organization that is out and present,
Hmm.
which is why I wanted to definitely do an interview like this during the
Right.
pandemic.
Right. So, okay. So, right now, I'm assuming people are not coming to your office, that you must do like Zoom meetings or something like that
We
with
can
people.
use Zoom, we can meet by phone,
Okay.
whichever is more comfortable
And
for
accessible.
someone
Okay.
to meet. We
Okay.
are accommodating, and it also allows us to be a little bit more flexible with our schedule, just because a lot of people work 9 to 5. So
Mhm.
working
Mhm.
from home really allows me to have more flexibility in my schedule.
Okay, good to know. So people can connect with you in the evenings. Can they connect with you on weekends as well?
I do it on a one. It depends on.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say on a regular basis, but it will
Okay.
be on a one-on-one, because we do
Yeah.
want to make sure um, that every person who has this opportunity gets to take advantage. Take advantage.
Okay. So can you give me some common reasons why people come to see you and how you concretely help them?
So many times people come to see me because, number one, they could be behind on their rent, behind on your utilities. There could be a bill that they might be in a financial crisis. We get phone calls about taxes sometimes,
Mhm.
owing taxes,
Mhm.
and like you said, someone who just they want to fix their credit and you don't know how. You don't really understand how this debt is occurring, and sometimes
Mhm.
what happens is you could not be using that debt or using that anymore, and it's still growing.
Of course. Yeah,
And
that
so,
compound
or
interest, man. Nobody taught
yes,
me about that stuff. That stuff is like if you have money in the bank, compound interest is free money. But if you
right,
have credit and it's building up, it's like so painful because it
yeah.
grows really, really, really fast. Yeah.
I learned about a car loan, the daily interest. So if you're paying
Yeah.
daily interest
Hmm.
or monthly interest, makes a big difference in when
Hmm.
you and how you pay that loan. And what
Right.
happens is, if you fall behind, that
Hmm.
interest
Hmm.
just keeps building. And so
Right.
they'll say things like, "Oh, we'll add it to the back of the loan," but
Yeah.
it's not just the regular payment.
Yeah.
Sometimes they require you to pay that interest before
Right.
the next payment can be applied. So you're
Right.
really not just adding to the back of the loan. Your
Yeah.
next payment goes towards that interest. So
Yeah.
we help you. It's all financial stuff, but we help you look at that and break those things down. We
Okay.
also use Consumer Protection Bureau, because sometimes things are predatory and we need to make them aware of
Hmm.
a company that is
Hmm.
doing things that are not in aligned with the law. And so
Right.
you have to know when a creditor may be out of state and you're in Connecticut, they have to abide by Connecticut law. And
Hmm.
so you might have to make them knowledgeable of what that
Hmm.
law is.
Right.
So we help with that. We also help with writing letters,
Hmm.
calling a creditor on the phone
Hmm.
with you to provide that support,
Hmm.
because our finances, it affects your mental health,
Of
it
course. Oh my, and your physical health
and
too.
your
I mean, I
physical.
just remember being like so stressed out, like an envelope would come and I'd be like, "Oh, I can't open it." And I was like full of shame and stress
Yes,
and yeah. And then of course I have a history of like all kinds of different substance abuse. So it was like, let me just tamp down those nerves and all that stuff. And it just adds to the whole situation because I just didn't want to face it. And the reality is, you're not going to get out of it by not facing it. And it's not shameful. It's just, it happens to so many people,
we
especially when we're not paying people living wages.
right. Exactly. In this state, that's one of the most expensive in the country.
Right. Yeah.
My experience is there's a huge wage gap here
Mhm.
in this
Oh,
state.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so, actually, United Way has done a great job at identifying this population, calling the ALICE. It's the
Mhm.
Acid Limited Income Constrained Employed Population, where you work every day, and we now it's actually coming to surface more. People who work 40 plus hours and then their hours were either cut or their job was reduced, and now they have no income.
Mhm.
So that Alice Foundation are people that work every day, make sure they have the things that they need. But the
Mhm.
pandemic really put a strain on
Mhm.
the ability to provide for their families and provide for their housing. And so we want to connect with that population to
Mhm.
provide support, encouragement. If you need a new career, the
Mhm.
connections within the city and the resources, we can help you get that help for free.
Awesome.
You don't have to go into student loan debt, especially right now. There are programs out there
Mhm.
that will help you get a higher certification where you don't have to take out thousands of student loan debt.
Mhm.
And you absolutely can, but you want to be smart about it. You want to make sure you're getting that master's degree and you'll be able to graduate with a job that's going to be able to pay you enough to pay back those loans.
Yeah.
And so sometimes people come to us and they're like, yeah, I need this paid off. But what we supply is more of a holistic education
Mhm.
and understanding of how debt and credit work, and
Mhm.
get you a plan. Talk to the person that holds the debt, and
Mhm.
we want to get you to a place where you can start to pay that off.
Mhm.
I've had a few clients that say, I just want to get rid of my student loans. Well, it's that may not be something
Right.
that
That's a
can
toughie.
happen,
Yeah.
and we have to own that debt. And
Yeah.
that is something that's huge,
Mhm.
because student loan debt,
Mhm.
um, it's imprisonment for some.
Yeah.
When we start starting to talk about equity,
Yeah.
it is something that you need to have, but
Mhm.
the debt over the long term. So
Mhm.
even talking to young people, I tell
Mhm.
them now, get rid of your student loan debt in 5 to 10 years.
Right. Pay
Um,
it off.
Pay it
That's
off before you buy a car,
Mhm.
or before you buy the car that you want,
Mhm.
before you do all those things. Throw
Mhm.
money at that student loan debt, because
Mhm.
it's easier at 20 than it is at 30,
Right.
40, and 50.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what we do.
Yeah. And I would say the other thing I always tell young people is I don't care like the second that you can open a retirement account, because the thing about compound interest is that when you're saving, it's majorly on your side. And the thing that is the best for you with compound interest is time. So if
Yes,
you're young and if you friggin' put $20 a month away towards your retirement, by the time you retire, that will build so, so much. I mean,
$1
it really,
million. So
yeah,
Gateway had a great continuing ed pro class about finances, and I
mhm,
actually took that last year.
yeah,
And I learned that when you're 21 or 25 and you open that IRA account on your own, and you might put $25, and then
mhm,
life hits you at 30, let's say,
mhm,
40, and then 50, you just have a chance to go back and look at that account. The
mhm,
interest, like you said, that has
mhm,
built on that, you're
yeah,
more likely to have $1 million by the time
yeah,
you retire than
yeah,
trying to save at
yeah.
45 till you're for 20 years on top of that.
Agreed. Yeah. I wish I thought of this ahead of time because I have this fantastic handout. My financial advisor gave it to me years ago, and I turned it into a kid-friendly version because I used to be a program coordinator for urban education programs.
Okay.
And we did, it started as an after school and then it became a push in during the school class. It was a social emotional development college access program. And we had a whole thing on financial stuff. And so this particular scenario showed these two guys who were friends who, when they graduated from high school, one of them started putting away, I want to say it was like $500 a month or something like that, every month for 12 years. and then he stopped at age 30. And then the other friend didn't start putting money away until he was 30. And he put away $500 a month. And by the time they were 70, guy number one had way more money than guy number two.
Yeah.
Even though he stopped putting money away at age 30, he had more money than the guy who started and put away money for like, 40 years.
That's huge.
Crazy what compounding.
That really changes your ability to, for so many reasons, like being older and deciding if you can't work anymore, having those funds, being able to afford medications that you need, the
Or
normalcy.
living where you want to live,
That's huge.
And the problem is, though, when you're young, you think you're invincible. You think in the present moment. You don't think about the future. And, that's the problem with finances, is really kind of, because it's one thing to have knowledge. It's different to, to act on it. But so let's go back to your clients. So often they come to you, basically, it sounds like a lot of debt problems and not being able to make ends meet. So you did say, though, that you actually can work with anybody without income limits. It doesn't really matter. Do you ever have people who are a little bit more affluent come to you for services? And if so, what kind of services?
Yeah, when you're looking at credit and debt. So even though you might make a lot of money, so we have a generation now that is making a lot more money. With more money, if you don't have higher levels of understanding and knowledge into credit and debt, you end up having, it ends up being the same problem with someone who just makes more money. So that notion of, and I'm gonna tell you how I learned this. I worked somewhere and I was helping people get into homes, and there was a lady that worked at Walmart. She had an 800 credit score. She made $8 an hour. And I said, well, how do you get this credit score? And she said, I pay off my credit card every month, no matter what it is. I pay it off. So if you don't have a higher level of credit, no matter how, of understanding credit and how it works, no matter how much money you make, you can still have that 570 credit score with making $200,000 a year.
Right. So it's basically, you have to live within your means, really below your means. But, my guess is there's some people on here that don't know what a credit score is, and they don't know the difference between a 570 and an 800. So can you please speak to that? Like, what is a credit score, and why should we care about it?
Okay. So a credit score, there's different credit scores. So Credit Karma has credit scores. That's based on, and so there's different metrics of how credit score is looked at. And if we want to break it down, like on Facebook, there's different algorithms, and the same works with credit. So Credit Sesame, Credit Karma, they use a valuation score. But when you go to the bank, they use they use a FICO score. So FICO is what a lot of lenders use to look at your credit score, and their algorithms are just different than the valuation score. We help people pull a FICO score with one credit bureau. You always have access to pull your credit accounts once a year through myfico.com. So credit scores range from as low as 400 to 800. 800 is like excellent credit, no things and marks. 400 credit score is probably one of the ones you probably have to work really hard, and you want to pull that up. When you're looking to buy a house, it's good to have a score somewhere around 650. You can do some things with 620, but I can tell you what you're not going to see is that you're going to pay more money in interest than someone who has an 800 score.
Right.
And the way I learned this is working behind the scenes of a bank, how someone who has an 800 credit score is actually, they save money in buying things.
Right.
And when you have a lower credit score, you spend more money in buying things.
Like, there's that saying, it takes money to make money, and that's true in so many different arenas. So so credit score is a way for creditors like banks and car loan companies and stuff like that to, in one number, say, is this person someone that's likely to pay their money back?
Yes.
based on what they've done in the past. And a high score is like, yup. And a low score is like, maybe not so much.
Right. That's why it has nothing to do with income.
Right.
It
It
never
doesn't have
has
to do with
with how
income.
much money you make.
So I know that you said there's a different algorithm. So, and one of the things you mentioned was, the woman paid off her credit card debt. So she has a credit card.
Yes.
So that means she has a credit limit of how much she's allowed to charge, but she's not using it. She's using her credit card on a regular basis, but she pays it off. So that's called wait a minute, credit to debt ratio, income. What is that called?
There's credit utilization.
Credit utilization. Okay.
This is and let me go a little further in that. What she did was she paid the amount on her statement.
Mm-hmm.
So you use your credit card, you get a statement once a month.
Mm-hmm.
You pay what's on that statement, and then you might use your card again and you're paying the statement. Mm-hmm. If you charge today and then you pay it off on Monday, it's never hit your credit report to show that payment.
Gotcha.
So these are some of the tricks that we help you with at the Financial Empowerment Center, because you could be paying your credit card and I'm going to use it over here and I'm going to pay it off in 5 days. But what happens with that, you never get credit for it on your credit report. Okay. And I mean, the credit card company is happy sometimes,
right, of course,
because you couldn't earn any money off of you.
Right. Yeah.
The key also is when you pay that statement off every month, you're not paying interest.
Right.
The interest is not added until after your statement is issued.
Right.
So if you're paying your credit card off every month, you never have to pay interest on those funds.
Right. So one way to have a higher credit score is to have credit available to you and pay it off, credit cards, and pay them off every month. Another one is to have a credit line or a credit card for a very long time.
Yes. So time is
so I have, like, at one point I was like, I just want to cut that card up and get rid of it. And my financial advisors were like, no, you don't want to do that, because that means that the average length of how long you've had credit cards is going to go down. Yes. And so even if you're never going to use it, you should leave the account open, because it shows I've been able to have credit for a very long time.
Yes. So that's huge, is you don't want to do a thorough cleanup and say, well, I'm not using these anymore, let me just close them, because that time you can't get back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there is
said. I love it. You can't get that time back.
You can't get that back. So you want to make sure that you're getting credit for the credit that you have. What I encourage people to do, especially if you're at that 620 score, is to put something that you already pay every month onto your credit card, your cable bill, your cell phone bill, put it on your credit. That way you're not spending more than what you actually are going to spend anyway.
Right.
Put that on your credit report. Put that on your credit card and pay it off every month. It's not going to mean any different. You might even earn some rewards depending on the card that you have.
Yeah.
But that way you're using the card, but you're not going into debt for it.
So I can tell you a problem I ran into this is one of those times when I ran up all the credit, one of those times, because I did it twice. So what I did was I started doing that, but then I'd take the money that I was going to pay, like, let's say it was the cable bill, and then I'd use it. So here's how I ended up fixing that. Was nowadays you can have your bank automatically issue a check that gets sent to somebody and pay it electronically.
Yes.
And so I started having my bank write the check and send it to the company, so that literally all this stuff is happening on an automatic thing, and I'm not touching my money. Because what I learned for me is, if I don't ever touch my money, that's good. Because if I get everything, all the stuff gets paid automatically. And I worked at Yale for a long time.
Okay.
And Yale pays monthly, or at least the category of employee I was in, I got paid monthly. And people would be like, oh my God, that's awful. I'm like, in the beginning, it was awful. But here's what happens. My bills get paid every month. All my bills get paid because everything was automatic. The money hits the account and then it goes out.
I actually want to go back to the importance of having a bank account. So having a bank account, that is one of the things that is a feature of having a bank account is online bill pay. So you can set up automatic things through your account. It takes the money out right away for that bill. The bank sends a check out and pays it on your behalf. That's
And you
awesome.
don't have to go to the post office, and you
No.
don't have to pay stamps, and you don't have to pay for envelopes.
And you have control over it. So if you're like, oh my goodness, something came up, I have to buy tires, you have control to stop that auto draft. Where if you allow the cable company or whoever the company is to get them to stop that draft, you have to call them 30, 60 days ahead of time. How did you know you were going to have that? Yeah. So that's why having a bank account is so important. Vanessa's asking another question. If you meet with a counselor, would you be able to apply for a line of credit or find out if you can? We have some options of helping you build credit. So, yep, Vanessa, that's something we can definitely send me an email. We can talk about.
I wouldn't be surprised if she's already emailed you. Awesome. I'm so glad you're watching, Vanessa. This is really great.
Thank you for watching.
So, and actually, just in case somebody's watching the record, I mean, I know there'll be people watching the recording. Even if you're not watching live, you can put in comments and we will get them to Latrice. But you get her to just go ahead and email her. And Vanessa, if you know anybody else who would benefit from this, the recording will be free and it will live on the known website.
Yes.
Okay, so she wants her email address is scrolling across the bottom. It'slallenfrazier@newhavenct.gov.
So can I just say a little bit about banking, because that's huge. Number one is people will save more if they have a bank. So that automatic, what you discovered, and automatically transferring money to your savings account, you won't miss it. That's why having a budget is so important. People who bank, so a lot of people are using bank cards. They might have their unemployment put on a card, their child support is put on a card. And there's a lot of mistrust with banks. But through a banking app, and like you said, creating these processes to help you with paying things on time will help you stay in control. We are part of that collaborative Bank On, where no overdraft fees on a Bank On account. Okay. So if you want to know more about which banks participate with Bank On, email me, because we can have a conversation to talk about which banks participate. There may be zero to low fees, like fees, and all the fees are under $5. So if you lose your job or something happens and you're in a regular account, you want to make sure you switch your account over to a Bank On account where it's a little to no fee. And a lot of banks don't promote these accounts because they don't make a lot of money. My first year as a financial counselor, after Christmas, there was a report that banks made millions of dollars in insufficient fund fees.
Right, of course. Yeah.
So
and I was one of those people who gave them a lot of money because, I just had like horrible, especially when I first started at Yale and I was only getting paid monthly. What would happen is I would like bury my head in the sand.
Yep.
And then I would get paid. And I'm like, oh my God, I have money. I'd go shopping. I'd do all this stuff. And I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on. And then by the end of the month, I wouldn't have any money. And I would try to see like, oh, maybe I'd pray I didn't pray then, I do now, but I crossed my fingers like, oh, maybe the check won't go through. And it would be like some ridiculous, like $30. And when I looked at like how much I was spending every year, it was like, I could have bought like a new friggin' car over all those years.
Yeah, and but I had people on Social Security. That's how what your experience through that pay. That's what happens. That last week of the month, you may be more inclined to swipe your card to get something that you need, and you end up paying $200 or $150 for that one thing because things just begin to snowball.
Right.
So we help with figuring out what is it that you need. Because sometimes when you get in that spending, your account is finally back up and you get into that spending mode and you've been so deprived for 3 weeks.
Right.
And so you're going to want to make yourself feel better. But we will teach you skills on how to live so you're not in a stress mode. And that's actually something what I teach with the known co-working is when you have your own business, don't put yourself in a panic. Spend a little bit more time, work on your finances, figure
Mhm.
out the budget. How much are these things costing you? Do
Mhm.
you need to raise your prices? But
Mhm.
the same thing in our personal. Many
Mhm.
people who are struggling in business finances, they're struggling in the personal finances
Of
too.
course. Yeah,
It
absolutely.
it rolls over because you use the same
Yeah.
skills to run your business.
Yeah.
So it's all connected. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, one of the things that I'm hearing loud and clear from you is that you're a partner to people.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine what that would have been like back then to have someone who, like, you do this all the time with people,
Yeah.
and there's no shame in it. And we're here to help you, and we're here to provide services and teach you. Like, what a relief. Because, I can tell you, I can't tell you how many nights I would lay in bed and be like, okay, how am I gonna blah 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 blah, and then all the stress and everything like that, and then I would do the same things over and over and over again, and it finally got to the point where, like I said, I ended up declaring bankruptcy, and I realized like this is not how I want to live my life, and I took like a 5-year period of time and really just overhauled my life. So I declared bankruptcy in 1999. I bought my condo that I'm sitting in right now in 2008. And so in less than 10 years, I went from bankruptcy to homeowner.
Wow.
So it
Wow.
is possible, people, for you to turn things around. And you've said the word budget a couple of times, and I want to share here just because of my financial history. Like I've been through it all, and
Mhm.
I've also been where I make plenty of money and I still don't have the money. So I have the most peace of mind, relief, and I would say feel control over money right now than I ever have in my entire life. So I did get a financial planner years ago, and I started budgeting, but it didn't, like, once a year when I would go see my financial advisor, I would look at my budget. I started keeping track of it. Like one of the things that I never did was
Mhm.
I didn't keep track. So I balanced my checkbook every single month, and I used Microsoft Money for a while and then Quicken. And so at the end of the year, I'd look and see like how much am I spending in each category, and he'd be like, "Oh, you need to cut down on like dining out." Was always where I needed to cut down. So I'd be like, "Okay, I need to cut down on dining out," and then I wouldn't really do anything about it, but I feel guilty about dining
Right.
out. That was
Every
really
time.
convention. Was feel guilty about it, right?
Right.
Well, 2 years ago, somebody said to me, I have been using this financial app that has given me the most unbelievable financial freedom I have ever had in my life. And I was like, what is it? So it's called You Need a Budget, or YNAB, YNAB for short.
Okay.
And they call themselves a financial education company, and they keep the lights on by selling the app. You don't have to use their app, but you would be crazy not to. It's $84 a year, which breaks down to $7 a month, but you do have to pay it annually. You can try it free for 34 days.
Oh wow.
And that is brilliant because 34 days means you're bridging over 2 different months. It takes that first month, it is hard because they have 4 rules. This is how they do their finances. And I've read a ton about finances. I've never seen anybody think or educate like this. And it doesn't matter how you like to take in information. They have a podcast, they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook, they have videos, they have a blog. So if you like to watch stuff, if you like to listen to stuff, you like to read stuff, they've got it all for you. And it's also really approachable. It's pretty culturally competent, like educational stuff. It's also entertaining as hell. And they do things like they will do a profile of, like, okay, if anybody's ever watched the Christmas movie Elf, which I love that movie, it's hilarious.
Hmm.
At Christmas time, they were like, if Buddy the Elf had a budget, these are the categories he would have. And he would have candy, candy canes, candy corn, and syrup, like as budget items,
Right.
as line items. So they do things like they use entertainment to educate you. I cannot tell you how much freedom I have. And here's the reason why. Because you set up the categories in your budget. You don't actually put money into those categories until you have the money in your hands. It's in your bank.
Wow.
So you don't like fund the category. And then when you go to spend money, the way that my life was before, even when I had a budget, was like money. I had like this pool. It was like money. So if I wanted to spend money on dining out, it was like, well, it's just going to come from somewhere. But
From the
now
pool.
the way this program works, I will look at how much money do I have in my dining out category. Oh, so let's say I have $20 and I want to go to this fancy dancy restaurant, right? So
Right.
I got options. I can not go. I can go to fancy dancy restaurant and have appetizers and spend only the $20. I can also say, okay, I really, really want to go to this fancy dancy restaurant. I'm going to consciously choose to pull money out of another category and put it in to my dining out category. So I have to consciously choose to pull money out of one thing into another. Whereas before it was like it was just money. But I have to be like, okay, I'm going to take money from either like charity or groceries or gas money or whatever. I have to consciously make a choice. That has made all the difference in the world.
And
So
let me
I
tell you,
cannot recommend it.
that few minutes to think about it and then to implement, like to think about how you're spending that money, it will change your thinking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It
Yeah.
makes all the difference in the world. Let me tell you something. I have at this very moment 8,000 and something dollars in my checking account just sitting there,
Wow.
which has never happened before ever in my life because it usually got damn close to zero every month because I have money in my emergency fund. I have money saved for auto repairs. I have money for my property taxes. I
Wow.
have money for like all of because I fund these categories and I know that I have to pull it away from something else and I've stopped pulling it away from other
Yes.
things and it feels so good. I had to get my license renewed a couple of weeks ago. Now, there's been a couple times in the last, 20, 30 years where I've renewed my license late because I didn't have the money, despite making plenty of money, right? And
Right.
so what would happen is I'd get the envelope and I'd be like, ugh, and
Right.
I'd put it in a pile and I'd forget about it. And then I renewed my license late. Like I'm a grown adult with a master's degree and I'm a responsible person and I did stuff like that. I don't
Yeah.
anymore. I opened the envelope immediately. I made the appointment and I went like 2 weeks ago. My birthday's not until the end of the month, right? So
Wow.
I renewed it like weeks ahead of time
That's
because I had the money
right.
in my bank account.
And how much more would we do if we already had the money? Like, how would that change your dreams?
I cannot tell you how freeing it is. It's incredible. Like I don't have that like that hit of like shame and adrenaline every time an envelope comes. I'm like, oh my God, I have this money. And like my car tax bill, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to pay it because I have the money.
What day is it? You start looking.
And really this level of freedom came from using YNAB. And so, like I said, it's a financial education company. They keep the lights on with their app, but the app makes it so much easier. It does take time to get used to and to understand how to work, but they have so much educational stuff and it's really entertaining and you can do it. So I really.
That's the aha moment we want our clients to get to by.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Is that it's not a takeaway of your life. It's really to help you build for other things that you may want to do in your life, whether it's buy a home, buy a car, send your kids to college, all of those things. We want people to get to that aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to check out that app too.
Yeah.
Because it really helps. I read something that said one time that the average daily balance in your account shows how much money you can manage.
Yeah. Oh, that's excellent. Well, I can now manage a lot more money.
Right, because you're keeping that. But if your balance goes up when you get paid and then goes immediately down, that remember it used to be on your statement. It's not anymore. But that average daily balance is what you can manage in your account. So those key things I look for. Bank accounts don't lie. I used to help people in loss mitigation try to stay their homes. And one things we used to look at your bank statement. So your bank statement does not lie. If you're looking for something, you don't know where your money goes, Your
Yeah.
bank statement will tell
I'll
you.
tell you. Yeah.
And you want to know what your finances are saying about you. What is your story? And if
Right.
you don't like that story, how can we change it?
Yeah. Excellent. I love it. And the way that I think about my life now, and this, I'm talking about financially, but like every other area of my life too, is
Hmm.
I live my life on purpose.
Yeah.
And if your finances are all over the place, you're not living your life on purpose. But you can change. I want to say one last thing about YNAB, and then I'll give you a chance to recap anything else. And that is, so I have a client that I do coaching and consulting, and I have this client who is constantly telling me about all this financial stuff. I'm like, dude, you gotta get this YNAB thing. And he finally started using it, and he was like, Barb, this is amazing. Not only do I feel like I have this empowerment, but it's sort of like gamifying your finances because of this notion of you have to pull it out from here and you pull it out from there.
Right.
And it like turned into a really fun thing for him. And he's never had fun with his finances before. And I was like, now that you say that, that's an excellent point. And like I have mine synced with my bank account. You don't have to do that. So I get an alert on my phone. Oh, a bill has come through or a payment has come through. And I have to okay it. I say, yeah, I approve that, that's the right thing. And it's like I get excited that a bill came through because I know the money is there. And because I didn't have the money before. So
Right.
anyway.
No, it's no, it's terrorizing when you
Hmm.
know something. I remember when, I mean, the new mayor has stopped this, but when your car used to get towed, when your car taxes, you go in someplace and you come back out and your car is gone.
Right.
And
So
then I
not only did you not pay that, now you have to pay for the towing. Yeah.
the towing, the ticket, the storage.
Hmm.
We work with someone with Yale. Her name is Annie Harper. She
Hmm.
did a debt study on just residents of New Haven,
Hmm.
and 25. I think it's a quarter of people whose cars got towed never got their car back. So how
Oh
did it
my
even work?
goodness.
So do you know what I mean?
Oh,
That means so much because people would lose their cars because they owed a few $100s in taxes, and that can just snowball into something else.
oh my
So
goodness.
I appreciate that the city has stopped that, and really, there's been a change in the whole. I actually followed that story
Mm,
and how the towing was in New Haven,
mm,
because I've been told a few times,
yeah,
but
yeah, me too.
that was something that was
Good to
really
hear.
hurting our community. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, do you have any last comments or thoughts that you want to share before we sign off?
Yes, that finances don't have to be scary, right? They can be fun. I could be fun, but
I can
with
tell you're
the,
fun.
it's just not, it's not something, it's not playing a game.
Right.
But I think I would definitely look into that UNAB app because we want longevity with clients, and we want to make it something that is
Hmm.
fun and they get to that aha moment. And
Yeah.
sometimes if it's an app, we spend so much time
Hmm.
on our cell phones that if it's an app that may
Hmm.
cost $84 and I'll help you for free for the rest of it,
Hmm.
it's worth the investment.
Yeah.
So find out what your financial story is and
Yeah.
don't live in the dark about it. Don't live in shame. Know what it is before you go to purchase a house, purchase a car, and be able to know what it is that's important to you financially, because people will make that decision.
Yeah.
Lenders make that decision for you.
Awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough, not only for being on the show, but for the incredible work that you do. And I think that people will be very lucky to have you as a financial partner. And what a relief to have someone that you know that you can go to and get help from.
Yes,
So
thank
if
you,
you don't
Barb.
mind, I'd like to take you off the air, but don't sign off just
Okay.
yet. I
Yeah.
do want to close out the show, but thank you so much to Latrice Allen.
Thank
So,
you for allowing me to speak to your audience.
oh, great. All right. Well, thank you again, Latrice. All right, everybody. Thank you again for joining us on the Connection Corner. Thanks to Latrice and for the New Haven Financial Empowerment Center. And I do want to remind you that this coming Tuesday at 8:30, Julia will be having Randy Spina on. She is the marketing guru who also teaches at Southern. and she always has all kinds of fabulous information. I'll see you back here in a couple of weeks. And again, you can watch the replay of this show or any of our other shows on nhvknown.com. Thanks again, everybody. Have a fantastic day.